So we're starting to see some erosion now. Look at that. Okay, that's different. So you come over here and then you just see that. And then you look over there and then you just see that. Okay, that is something different. Okay. Good, how are you? That's something else, huh? Wow. Let's go ahead and take a look at this stuff. It just comes out of nowhere. It's pretty amazing. So we're gonna take some shutterbug in here, boy. Okay. So let's get the selfie stick. Let's get the DSLR and take a look at some stuff. One of the things that struck me as I pulled into the Badlands overlook was how the land, which is just flat plains, just started showing these little signs of erosion. And then all of a sudden, as you get up to this overlook, you just see how the earth has been ripped open. It's a phenomenal thing to see. It actually makes you just wonder how that happened. After I left there, I wanted to do a little trail hiking, so I left the overlook and we headed towards the door of the window trails. This is basically a wall, and when you look through the wall, you look to the other side, it's just a completely different atmosphere. It's almost like being on another land. So I walked along that wall looking for the castle trail and headed down and started hiking the castle trail. The most striking thing about that are the different types of terrains that you go through while you're doing this trail. You initially start off in just this thin trail that takes you through grasslands, and you start seeing the pinnacles out in the distance. And as you travel towards the pinnacles, you start seeing these structures. And I want to say they're structures, but they're not. It's actually part of the land. But because the land has been eroded so flat, these structures or these pinnacles looks like it was something that was just placed on the ground. It's an amazing thing to see. As we start trailing through the pinnacles, you start losing sight of where you've come from because you're winding through all these structures and so forth. Very unnerving, but absolutely beautiful place to be. I was just breathtaking and left at awe. This is a fantastic place to visit, and it's highly recommended. I mean, on anybody's bucket list, wherever you're going, if you're passing through, this is a well-to-do thing. It was a hot day, but it was well worth the hike. After I left the visitor center, I made my way through the rest of the park, driving through some of the most dramatic scenery that I've driven through so far. My next stop was to make it to Wall. I wanted to stop there, grab a bite to eat, and start looking for what my next waypoint would have been, which would have been a campsite as close to the Sturgis area, if not in Sturgis, as I could get. I started encountering issues with my cell service, going in and out of service this part of the state, and it became more and more difficult to try to vet and look for campsites. What I was coming across was a lot of the campgrounds that were listed were only for RVs and not tent friendly. So I continued on throughout the sunset, into the dusk, into the evening, and I decided I was going to stop at Rapid City and find a hotel there before I made my next day push on to Sturgis, through the Black Hills, Rushmore, Crazy Horse, and then ultimately on to Devil's Tower in Wyoming. After all the stress of trying to find camping and staying for the evening, when I made the conclusion that I was going to get a hotel room, it took away all the stress that I was going through at the time, and I was actually able to enjoy this magnificent sunset. What a beautiful end to an excellent day.